the one and only, the absolutely effervescent Adam Marcus. Please give a warm round of applause to welcome Adam to Skyline.
Hey, y'all.
Give us some honks. Give us some light flashes.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Well, we are here tonight to talk to you, Adam, about your film, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. Released in 1993. This movie has had quite the journey, and you have been along with it every step of the way.
Yes,
even leading up to it, decades leading up to it.
Oh, yeah.
Where do we want to start? Do we want to start right in the thick of the movie, or do we want to go back to your involvement?
I'm good either way. So I'll bear all. So.
I want to hear about your humble beginnings with Friday the 13th, the franchise as a whole, with Sean Cunningham.
So I was 9 years old when Noel Cunningham, Sean's son, and I became best friends at school, at elementary school. And there was a big hubbub about how Noel's dad had made a porn movie. Which is true. Sean Cunningham started out his illustrious career with a movie called Together, starring Marilyn Chambers. He discovered Marilyn Chambers, who went to my high school in Westport, Connecticut. And so Noel, my best friend, played her love child in the porn movie as a baby, because Sean needed a baby and then he had one. So there you go. And also I had heard that he made this horror movie that was sort of notorious, Last House on the Left, which of course I hadn't seen. I was 9. And I was so fascinated by all of this. I was so interested because, like all people my age, I went to see Star Wars on the second day of its release, and the minute that Star Destroyer went over my head, I was like, I want to do that. And so I started hanging out at the Cunningham house, and this is right around the time that he was prepping to make Friday the 13th. And so I was on set for a ton of that show as a kid. And Sean liked having me around because he would send me out to get him Tab because he loves diet soda. And I literally became like his Tab guy at 10 years old. And I remember when he gave me $20 a day when I was there to like go get stuff. And $20 to an 11-year-old is like $1 million. So yeah, that's how I started out with Friday the 13th. Yeah.
And keeping with the franchise, had you always been kind of kicking around the idea of what you would do with your own Friday the 13th? Like, did you always have a running storyline for, oh man, I would love to see Jason do this, and that's what led to Jason Goes to Hell? But I know you didn't, write the screenplay. But
I did write the script.
I'm sorry, not that you didn't write the screenplay, but that you had the initial idea. That it melded into.
Well, here's the thing. I think I was as much a fanboy as you could be of Jason Voorhees and of those films. I had problems with the movies even as a kid because Sean had problems with the movies. So I was always hearing this constant rhetoric about what was wrong with each one of these films. And Steve Miner, who directed 2 and 3, Steve was a bit of a mentor for me. In fact, all of my editing equipment when I went to NYU Film School, Steve gave me all my editing equipment. I was actually an apprentice editor for Sean's wife, Susan Cunningham, on a little movie called Spring Break. It is an incredibly inappropriate movie for a 13-year-old boy to be editing. I say that I went into the editing room a boy and came out a man. And so... Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done. Thank you for that. It's good. It's going right in my tight 5. So here's the thing. I love the movies. I don't know if I ever really had an idea of like what I would do. Okay. Right? Because that was out of the realm of possibility. It was me making a Friday the 13th movie. I wanted to make movies, no doubt. But I don't think I ever intellectually went, like, what would I do with Jason Voorhees? And when I got the job, there were so many walls put around me that what I might naturally have done with Jason, I couldn't do with Jason.
And were those walls confining you by way of the production company in terms of that, Sean had wanted to do a Freddy versus Jason?
Mm-hmm. He didn't yet.
Okay.
He didn't yet. New Line had bought the franchise from Paramount. In buying it, they didn't buy the whole thing. So we didn't have the title, hence Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. We couldn't use Friday the 13th. By the way, the original title of the movie, when I thought we could use Friday the 13th, was Friday the 13th, The Heart of Darkness, which is why the documentary is called Hearts of Darkness, The Making of the Final Friday. That was the initial title. So I couldn't have the title. I wanted the hero of the movie to be Tommy Jarvis. Couldn't have him, because he wasn't contained in the first movie. We could have things that were contained in the first movie and the hockey mask. That's it. That's all we could have. And Sean Cunningham hated the hockey mask so much that when he gave me the job, he said, listen, if you can get that fucking hockey mask out of the movie, I'll let you write and direct it. And my initial reaction was like, woohoo, I'm making a Friday 13th. And then I went, wait, I got to get the what out of the what? What am I doing? What? Huh? And it was terrifying. And the only reason he gave me the job was because there was another film I was going to direct for him called Johnny Zombie. And I got that movie set up for him at Disney. And Disney was going to make the movie for so much more money than we expected to make it for, that they were like, no, we're not letting a 22-year-old kid direct this movie. And that movie ended up becoming My Boyfriend's Back, for any My Boyfriend's Back fans out there. Thank you very much. Love it. There's two of you. So that's why I was like, you owe me a movie. And he's like, well. By the way, when I do an impression of Sean Cunningham, it sounds like the Penguin, the supervillain, the Penguin from the Batman movies, because Sean Cunningham is the Penguin, the supervillain from the Batman movies. So that's how I got walls put around me to make the movie.
And then going into the body hopping genre.
Yes.
Which had, that was kind of the flavor of like late 80s, early 90s movies.
Yeah.
What led you to that? Because I know that there might also be some Necronomicon nuances.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. So the first reason for the body hopping, a lot of people made an equivalency to the movie The Hidden, Jack Shoulder's The Hidden, which is an amazing film. I had never seen The Hidden up to the time that I was making Jason Goes to Hell, so that was not the inspiration, even though it is pretty similar. No, for me, little fact is that I have never drank alcohol or done drugs of any kind in my life. And part of that comes from the fact that my entire generation was raised by a generation of people who lost their fucking minds and did a ton of excess. And I saw all these people kind of lose themselves to it, right? So for me, the idea of loss of self is terrifying. And so I looked towards the movie The Thing. So John Carpenter's The Thing was the inspiration behind the body hopping. The reason is that I find there's one big problem with most franchise filmmaking. After the first two episodes of a story, right? So Friday the 13th Part 1 and 2. Nightmare on Elm Street, really 1 and 2.5. But Texas Chainsaw is another perfect example. In the beginnings of these movies, we are with the heroes of the films, not the villains. Nobody roots for the shark in Jaws. That's a horror movie. When you're in place of the kids in the van in Texas Chainsaw, you're terrified when Leatherface shows up. Here's what happens once we get to part 3 of almost all these franchises. The Freddy Kruegering, or the comic element, happens, and now all we want to see is how bad the kill's going to be. Well, for me, that stops being a horror movie. That starts being a wrestling movie. Like, now these characters are like these larger-than-life, almost anti-heroes. I wanted my movie to be scary. And by not letting you know where Jason is, who Jason is in, that's scary. Because where's it coming from? And for the lead characters, I also wanted to hire actors and give them dialogue where they could be full people in these films, where I felt a lot of the movies had started to rely on, like, well, we'll just cast pretty teenagers and murder them.
Well, and there's so much to be said for that in terms of how you cast it, too, because that's so important when Jason is hopping from these characters from one to another, to be able to flip that into something that is both believable, lining up with Jason's how difficult was that to find your?
Oh, to find my cast?
Yeah.
I had an incredible casting director in this movie, Barry Moss, who was a Broadway casting director, and that's where I grew up, was in New York and in the theater. Barry was a genius, and so I had access to amazing people. Like, really, there were very few duds that walked into my office. By the way, to your Evil Dead point, and forgive me for glossing over it, here's the thing. Jason Goes to Hell is the Rogue One of the Friday the 13th franchise. And the meaning behind that is that, Rogue One is the movie that explains why there is a 3-meter hole in the Death Star that Luke shoots into and the entire thing blows up. Like, who would make that with that structural problem? Well, Rogue One explains that there is somebody working with the rebels from the inception of the Death Star who put that in there as a safeguard. Jason Goes to Hell is why the hell in 1980, in the first Friday the 13th, there is still an 11-year-old boy who jumps out of the water to attack our heroine, right? Drags her down to the bottom of Crystal Lake. He's still 11. He's gross. He's covered in muck, but he is a little boy still. 2 weeks later, when Friday the 13th Part 2 happens, that 11-year-old has gained 160 pounds of body weight, has learned how to read, because the only way you can find people is going to the white pages, has learned how to drive, because I don't think he walked through town with his mom's head in a bag, and he's got this great sense of humor, because he takes the head and hides it in the fridge, and then he goes and hides and waits, and he's like, this is going to be hilarious when she opens the fridge, and she sees my mom's head, then I'm going to stab her in the... Okay, guys, that's not the hydrocephalic-headed little boy played by Ari Lehman in the beginning of in the end of the first movie. So, if you say Pamela Voorhees would do anything to have her boy back, everything is about her, and that's why she's so rageful, wouldn't she turn to the dark arts? Why wouldn't she get a Necronomicon? Why wouldn't she read those rites? And suddenly, her boy at the bottom of the lake wakes up. And one of the first things he sees is his mother lakeside one night, and then he sees her head get lopped off. Well, he rushes to the surface to attack the woman who killed his mom. Now I believe in 2 weeks, if he's a revenant, you don't have to say he's a deadite. Oh, for God's sakes. He can be a deadite. He can be anything else that's in the Book of the Dead. But if he is now Hell's assassin, I believe him gaining 160 pounds like that. I believe anything. By the way, all of the timeline problems in the Friday the 13th franchise are solved. Part 8 and him melting in, in the nuclear waste that fills the sewers of New York every night, all of that stuff suddenly plays as real from the point of view of what the universe of this movie is.
Absolutely. And the fact that you were told, get away from the mask, get away from the mask.
Oh, yeah, had to.
You have such an practical effects-heavy film.
Yep.
And you had K&B on board.
Well, look, Howard Berger and Bob Kurtzman are both very close friends. Bob Kurtzman is like my brother. I will not make a movie without Bob. We're attached at the hip. And when they first met me, I was 23. I was 23 when I directed this movie. I was 21 when I wrote it. And the guys who were older than me, but still in their late 20s, these guys, when they met me, I was all about the effects. Like, I was a lunatic about this stuff. And I was the one who was like, look, I think the mask should be part of his face now. Like, I never want to reveal what's under the mask. You know why? Because it always looked goofy. And I'm going to go back to a Star Wars reference because, yeah, why not? When they unmask Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, he's a purple cantaloupe. How is that scary anymore? Like, you just ruined how scary Darth Vader is. I don't want to see a purple cantaloupe. And so for me, showing the face of fear immediately makes it not scary. So I wanted that mask to be part of his head. Well, the minute I said that, the K&B guys were like, oh, he's one of us. And all of the split girl up the middle, by the way, if there's anybody who hasn't seen this movie, forgive me, but I'm not ruining anything. You're going to love it. the split girl up the middle, truly, I came to Bob and I said, we need to come up with the most remarkable death in the franchise. And he and I designed that makeup together. So I was at K&B more than I was in my office with Sean Cunningham, by a lot.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
The heart, just like taking a bite out of that like an apple.
Yep. And it's gelatin heart filled with grape jelly, fruit cocktail, and black food coloring. That's it. And Richard Gant, when he bit into that thing, I am telling you, you would have thought he was eating the most luscious thing he'd ever had. It was freaking disgusting, but that's how good my actor was. It's amazing.
And so, God, there's so many questions I know we're limited on time, but because it's such a divisive movie within the franchise.
Yep.
Amongst critics and fans, and feeling the weight of responsibility of carrying the 9th entry in a franchise.
Yes.
What did that mean to you as a 23-year-old?
Here's what was great. I was too young and too stupid to know that it was a big responsibility. So what's great about Jason Goes to Hell, and it's the thing that people don't like about Jason Goes to Hell, is that I just went for it. And by the way, I'm also a fan who got really annoyed at the Friday the 13th franchise because I felt like they were treating me like an idiot. By the time they sold me Jason versus Manhattan, and it's Jason taking a boat ride. And by the way, anybody who's ever been to New Jersey, a boat ride from Jersey to New York takes about 12 minutes. Okay? It's not like the Love Boat.
It's because they were coming from Canada where it was filmed.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Then for the last 25 minutes of the movie, we end up in Montreal, not New York. So you've promised me a movie. You're not delivering that film at all. You start writing the characters literally like bowling pins just so you can knock them down. And I wanted something different from Friday the 13th. By the way, Part 6 has always been my favorite of the franchise. Tommy McLaughlin and I are very close. It's an amazing film, right? It's just badass. Jason Goes to Hell was made as a sister movie to Jason Lives because Jason Lives gave me something different. And by saying this is a monster resurrected a la Frankenstein's monster, you've now taken the cuffs off of what you can do with this character.
No rules.
Right. And by the way, all the Friday directors, we always talk about this amongst each other. At the same time Friday was happening, Nightmare on Elm Street was happening. The Nightmare directors all went on to these huge careers because they could do anything. Because the dreamscape just allowed for any kind of... With Jason, you have a machete. Go. And that's all we were given artistically. So for me, I was like, no, I want to tell the kind of story that Freddy could be in.
Absolutely, man. I want to ask about the ending scene, but I don't want to spoil it.
No,
you can't. No, I can't. So instead, I'll ask about the dagger.
Yes.
So
You
mean
the Kandarian dagger from
yes!
The Evil Dead?
Yeah. Exactly. That's why it's so connected, and we have to make a crossover happen, right?
Oh, well, here's the thing. I am right now actively writing a Creighton Duke movie with Stephen Williams. So, and it is Stephen Williams versus The Evil Dead. That's really what the movie is.
Oh my God!
Yes. By the way, when you see something bad happen to Creighton, he's okay. Just letting you know, he's okay. He's fine. Just gotta walk it off.
Well, like we said, no rules.
No rules.
As the writer, you can do whatever the hell you want.
By the way, that's one of those things that I when I'm teaching young screenwriters about stuff, I'm like, you're God in that universe. There's no rules.
The minute you start writing that for other people, that it just gets away from you, and that's going to water it down and make it not yours anymore.
Absolutely. And I think horror is that the reason why there are so many fans of horror, and our fans they're not just rabid, which you all are, but it's that you are the best fans because they want to open the envelope. They want you to go to the furthest place possible. And yeah, look, there are people who don't like Jason Goes to Hell because there's not enough Jason in it. By the way, I have more Jason footage, and I'm talking about Kane Hodder in full regalia with hockey mask. I've got more of that on screen than almost all the other films. It's because of the body hopping portion of the movie that people get upset at the movie. And I understand that. If somebody doesn't like it for that, I totally get it. The problem is, horror fans always want something different. They're begging for it. And then you give them something different and you go, well, why isn't it like the thing I like? Well, because I'm trying to push that envelope open. What's been amazing in the last decade, and it's why we made the documentary, and for anybody who hasn't met Michael Felsher and Deborah Sullivan, Deborah's the producer of the documentary, Michael is the director, he's been sitting at my table the whole night. The reason we made it is because suddenly there was this weird reconsideration of the movie that I never expected to see. And I started getting all of this fan mail and like people really loving the movie. And I was like, yeah, I'll make a documentary about that.
What if, again, it's a full circle moment for something that was your baby to come back around to be able to see it be fully appreciated. It's why it kind of breaks my heart that Jim Isaac is no longer with us to see the resurgence that Jason X has had, where it is now finally getting the recognition and treatment that it deserves.
Yep. And look, Jimmy had the same problems that I had in that there were constant guardrails put up. While we were shooting, there were more guardrails. By the way, never from New Line. New Line Cinema was amazing. Like the people at New Line, they came to my set 3 days, the first 3 days, and then they left me alone.
And it was Michael DeLuca.
It was Mike DeLuca and Mark Ordesky. Mark Ordesky, who created the Lord of the Rings franchise. Like, he's the guy who made that happen. Michael DeLuca is one of the most important people in our industry to this day. Those two dudes, by the way, Ken, at his table in the dealer room, has an issue of Cinefantastique with an interview with Michael DeLuca about Jason Goes to Hell. He's literally, I told him to put it aside, and anyone lucky enough in here to run in there, I think it's like $10. Like, go get that issue. It's rare. And it has this incredible interview where Mike DeLuca basically calls me the next James Cameron. I know. It's crazy. Like, I was like, okay, you can put me in a box. I'm done. I'm good. I've done everything I need to do in this planet.
It's about as great as a compliment as you could hope to receive.
It really is. It really is.
And going back to your point about Kane Hodder. I mean, you got to, obviously, clearly cast Kane Hodder, the most Jason out of all of the Jasons, into what I, time and again, hear him speak so fondly about how much he enjoyed working on Final Friday. And tell me everything. Well,
Kane's like the big brother I never wanted. Kane is, I adore Kane. Kane is, for all of the, like, grab you by the head, and I'll kill you, all that stuff, he's a pussycat made of marshmallow. Like, he's the sweetest, most lovely guy, and he has kill tattooed on the inside of his mouth. So there's always this, like, weird juxtaposition of, like, who the hell is Kane Hodder? What I can tell you is that Kane Hodder really is like a big brother. I love him to my core. He's an amazing person. By the way, he was also the stunt coordinator on the whole film. So there's over 100 stunts in this movie, and Kane was responsible for all of that. So Kane and I worked together every single day of the show together, arm in arm. So I wasn't just hiring me as an actor. I was like, no. You're responsible for all the action in this movie. And he did. Watch this movie tonight. When you're watching this movie, really keep an eye out for the stunts. It's crazy how many stunts there are. The action in it is absolutely incredible. Yeah, thank you. How long did it take him to get into makeup, being that the mask, looks like it's fused on his face? It was long. It was long, but it was shorter than a lot of the other makeups because the K&B guys, geniuses that they are, created the whole thing as a one-piece suit. Oh, okay, yeah. So he really could lock into it really quickly. The problem is, once he was in, he was in. And it was so hot in that suit. Now, we did get him a cool suit, which, here in Indianapolis, you guys know cool suits better than anybody. They're suits that race car drivers wear that pumps freezing cold water across their bodies because your body overheats in a car the same way that Kane's body was overheating. So we had him in a cool suit almost the whole show.
And now we were talking earlier today about, a lot of it comes down to that final edit.
Oh yeah.
And more than anyone how that can affect your vision.
Well, the MPAA sucks, and it's an outdated body. I never understand policing a horror movie. Like, did any of you go to horror movies so that you could see a Disney film? Like, I don't know what the disconnect of no, our audience wants this. You're just stopping them from seeing the thing they want to see the most. And this movie got butchered by the MPAA. I mean, they turned it off in the middle of the movie. They got to the 10th scene and they were like, we're giving you an X. And it was like, wait, what? So we had to keep cutting and cutting and cutting. What you're going to see tonight is the uncut director's cut. It's not a director's cut, but it's the uncut movie. And here's the thing. It's 3 minutes longer. That's a lot of footage. Like, when you just think about kills, that's a lot of kills that were gone.
Oh, yeah.
And are now back in the film. So, by the way, what you guys are all going to see as well is the first time that this movie has looked the way we intended it when we shot it. Because when we shot the movie, we shot on Kodak, they printed on Fuji and it got milky for theaters. This is the 4K, and we went back to the Kodak Master, and it is gorgeous. Like, this movie looks like a brand new movie.
And post-release,
Yeah.
the reception.
Yeah.
How was Sean Cunningham?
How was he about?
Yeah, I know that there was some.
Oh, between him and I?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Sean's a dick. Yeah, and you heard me right. Sean was like a father to me growing up. He really was. Like, he was really a second dad. And I loved Sean very much. The problem with Sean is that whenever money gets in there, that's it. The friendship, the mentorship, all of that is gone. And look, I got paid nothing for this movie. And I wrote and directed this movie. I got paid bupkis. I didn't care. I didn't care about the money. Sean cares about the money. Sean also was not thrilled that a 23-year-old was getting the kind of credit I was getting from the studio. So I was offered a 3-picture deal. Sean wasn't. And he hated that. And so this crazy, bullying and exiling happened, where I was like, what is going on? Because I love Sean. Yeah, Sean's a dick.
It's so disappointing.
Yep.
That you had to go through that.
Yep. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
And
Yeah.
we get to celebrate.
And by the way, Sean has been, the last couple times I've seen him, he's been fine. And it's fine. It's too long ago to hold on to anything.
Sure.
But look, and Noel, his son, and I are still very close friends. So, look, I'm very blessed. Sean gave me my career start. I also made Sean a ton of money with 2 movies that I gave him. And I honor everything Sean did for me as a kid all the way up until I made this movie. Look, you get to a point in your life where you just kind of go, you know what? The good's got to flood in, and I have no time for the bullshit. And now I'm making movies that I want to make, that I adore, and Sean was the one who started that off. So I honor all of that. I really do.
Yeah, it's a good place to be in. And I know we got to wrap it up because we got to start Jason Gives
Skippy.
to Hell. But leading into it, I want to know, do you have a favorite scene from the movie that we should especially look out for?
I do. Look, the tent scene is extraordinary, and it really is it's for kills, there's no kill better. I will say this. Keep an eye out for the Melting Man, because the Melting Man is what separates this movie from all Friday the 13th movies. It is such a badass piece of effects work. You think it came out of the thing. It's that impressive. But when it comes to favorite scenes, there is a very simple scene between John LeMay and a young actor named Adam Cranner, who was one of my closest friends growing up, and that I wrote the part for him. And it is a simple scene where John LeMay's character, Stephen Freeman, sees his baby for the first time. He's never seen this child, didn't know it existed. And he sees his baby, and his high school buddy walks in on him in the back of the diner and catches him. And it's a moment where it's almost no dialogue, but the entire scene that happens is between two adult men where you see their entire relationship in the rear view. And the choices that are made in that scene, again, separate this movie from all other Friday the 13th movies. Because this movie, I wanted the character drama to be first, so you would care and be afraid when these people died. So watch out for that scene. It's badass. It's a really quiet, small scene, but it is my favorite scene in the movie.
I love that. We will be sure to keep our eyes on that scene, and be sure to join Adam tomorrow at the Strand at noon for the premiere of Hearts of Darkness, the making of a Final Friday, of Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Friday.
Yeah.
My last question is, when you were making, did you really think it was going to be the Final Friday?
I did. Honestly, New Line really was saying it was going to be over, and then they were going to make Freddy versus Jason, which is not a Friday 13th movie, nor it's a Nightmare movie. They did not think they were going to go into the Friday 13th business. No.
And then Jason X came along.
It sure did, because they needed to keep the rights, because Wes Craven wanted to make New Nightmare.
Well, Adam, thank you so much. Everyone give a round of applause for Adam. And
Thanks, guys.
let's rock and roll with Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah. How about this amazing woman? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Oh my God, stop telling me more.
Woo!
This is awesome. Seriously. And by the way, you guys are badass. Tonight's been amazing.
You guys
are awesome.
Joe's awesome too.
Yeah. Damn Skippy Joe's awesome.
Thank you.
All of you, go to hell.